Hello and welcome back. As you can see, I'm here once again outdoors at my home. I'm just going to get into it for this video. This video is all about the up cycles and down cycles of energy and how it affects you spiritually, and what I've found is the best approach for me when it comes to spiritual progress, development, and just continuing forward. So today I woke up feeling a lack of energy, if you will. I often feel the energy of others connected deeply to the energy of the world. I often feel the same type of frequency, energy that is heaviest on this planet. And today you can really feel a kind of heaviness. It feels as though it's one of those days you'd like to just stay at home and wrap up into a blanket and just kind of soothe yourself, eat comfort foods and maybe watch movies. And it's important to understand that when you're on your spiritual journey, when you've gone through a type of awakening, there's going to be this inner fire for you to constantly progress. But that fire, just like the temperature of the sun or the temperature that you feel from the sun, and just like everything in life, there's going to be differences in degrees, and the energy that you have in order to work on yourself is going to differ from day to day as well. And it's very important to learn to flow with these cycles of high energy and low energy, and to not cling, not to attach, or to try to avoid any aversion to another. Spirituality is to develop a harmony with the world around you, with your inner world, which is the world around you, and to be able to flow. As you go down a river, sometimes the river moves fast. You might get to a point where there's a lot of rocks and the river becomes rough. The river might open up, and even though it's moving fast, there's still a very wide flow, and the rocks might not affect you much. You might hit a waterfall. The point is that just like a river, your energy is going to flow differently as you go through different stages, different days. And really the point of this video is to give you permission, to give to yourself, to be easy on yourself some days. To experiment with going with the flow. And of course, there's going to be all types of things you can do to increase your energy. You can work with the breath, and you'll feel as though you have more energy. But the point of this video is to have you understand and realize that not every day needs to be an intense spiritual transformation day, okay? And to learn when it's right for you to just take a little bit of a step back and not be so aggressive in your approach. Because if you're too much demanding of yourself, then that's not your spiritual development, that's your ego development, okay? The ego always wants more and it doesn't know when to stop. So that's the thing here. It's to recognize when you're feeding your ego's desire to continually grow and it doesn't want to stop that fast train. It feels as though there's a lot of progress to go. The finish line may be so close. It wants to do a final boost to the end. But from my experience, I've learned that in spirituality, the turtle wins the race, not the hare. Sometimes a slow, but more realistically, not slow, a steady progress is really what will get you there. An openness to flow with what is. So when you have these days, and here's where it might get tricky, where the paradox might come in, if it feels as though the ego wants to take a bit of hold of you, then sometimes it's okay to do that. It's okay to let it grab you and to work through you. Because if you try to push down the ego too much, it's like a pot of boiling water. Eventually the steam needs to escape. So learning to just not let the pressure build of the ego, learning to just go with the flow, and really recognizing the watcher within you. Because even when the ego is manifest through you, if you can look at it through the perspective of the watcher, then you're not really the ego. Because in reality, the ego only is the ego when you're not aware of it. The minute you become aware that it's the ego in you kind of taking the control of the ship, then the ego loses steam. It's not the ego anymore. You are the watcher watching the ego. Do you understand? Because the ego is not who you are. So even if you let it be, it's not you. Some of your habits may be energized, but the minute you watch it, it's not so much of a full speed, if you will. And as I mentioned, sometimes you just need to let the steam from the pot kind of escape a little bit. You might have noticed this in yourself, that if you try to stop any habit in your life, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like the pressure builds and eventually it just, and it takes over you. And in those moments you might feel like you're losing your connection to source, your spirituality, and so on, and your progress. But if you feel that way, then you deep down inside don't really understand what it is to be the watcher. You haven't really made the connection to your deeper essence. Your identity is still wrapped up with the ego. Because if you feel that you are lost in your habits, you have to realize that your habits are not you. Your habits are your habits. You can watch all of the habits happen, go through their cycle as the watcher. So when you feel low on energy, it's okay to meditate less long. It's okay to do your spiritual practices with less intensity. It's really okay to not do all of them. I still believe that it's important to do some type of spiritual practice in every day. For myself, mindfulness is a constant. I'm connecting, reconnecting, re-recognizing the watcher in myself, even on my most how can I say this? Even on my lowest of energy days, okay? The only difference is on my high energy days, I have more energy to allow not to stop the habits, but to make new habits. To recognize the old patterns and challenge them to develop new patterns that are more in line with the spirit, the understanding that if you're doing harm to your body, then you're also doing harm not to your soul, but it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to hurt yourself as much as it doesn't make sense to, force feed or feed your animal, your pet, food that's really bad for it. But some days, when it comes to yourself, it's okay to loosen the grip a little bit on how tightly you're holding yourself, the same way that you can treat your pets once in a while, right? Life is not all about just continually hammering those truths into yourself and, being so hard on yourself that you feel that you're in a new type of a prison. You're The reason you're developing yourself spiritually is not to create a brand new prison that's worse than the first one, okay? You're not trying to go from the prison that society tries to bind you to, okay, which is not real anyways, to a new prison that you created based on your new moral values. The ultimate goal is freedom, complete, absolute freedom. Let yourself be as you are. And the only thing you really need to do is just watch yourself. And sometimes even that you can loosen the hold of it a little bit. You'll notice, and here let me give you an example. Some of you might not know from, so I don't talk about this really often in my videos, but I'm also a trainer. I've worked in the fitness industry since 2005. I've used to certify new personal trainers and anyone who was interested in becoming a group fitness instructor, just getting into the fitness industry. I would put the courses together, teach them, certify the people, and I was responsible for that, as well as teaching and, you know, personal training myself and so on. And so the information I'm giving you comes from that here, from that experience. They did a study on runners, people who do long distance running, marathons and so on. And they found that on average, runners who run for 5 minutes and then take up almost or approximately a minute of walking, run 5, walk 1, run 5, walk 1, I can't even talk, tend to have a better time overall when it comes to reaching the end, the finish line, than those who push try to get a full, run the entire distance. And when it comes to spirituality, it's really the same thing. That principle also applies. That you're going to want to do some effort, you're going to want to put a bit of effort in, but you're also going to want to let a lot of it happen. And in spirituality, I found that it's closer to 50-50 than it is to 5 minutes on, 1 minute off. When it comes to spirituality, you want to do some effort, but also you want to let a lot happen on its own too. So it's really important to find a harmony that suits you so that you continually move forward, because it is important to always move forward. If you stop moving in spirituality, you actually take steps back. But even when you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, that's still forward progress. Do you understand? And that's really the whole point of this video. To be easy on yourself, to not always feel as though you have to constantly keep the same pace. Wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. Peace.